First Blood. The mining colony of Vesper 9 gleamed against the backdrop of swirling nebular gases, a testament to humanity's determined expansion into the stars. 15,000 souls called this place home, carving out a life on the mineral-rich planetoid at the edge of explored space. The colony had grown from a simple outpost to a thriving community in just 7 years, with hydroponic gardens, schools, and even a small theater where the colonists performed plays from Earth's classical repertoire. Maya Chen stood on the observation deck of the administrative tower, watching her 10-year-old daughter Lily play with friends in the central plaza. A structural engineer by training, Maya had helped design many of the colony's unique buildings, which combined function with an aesthetic beauty that reflected the swirling nebula surrounding them. "Beautiful, isn't it?" said Administrator Davis, joining her at the window. "Sometimes I forget we're 500 billion kilometers from Earth." Maya nodded. Lily doesn't even remember Earth. This is home to her. Their conversation was interrupted by the sudden blaring of proximity alarms. Davis tapped his comlink. "Report. Multiple objects decelerating from FTL. Sir," came the urgent voice of Security Chief Rivera. "Configuration unknown, but they're maintaining formation. Definitely artificial." Davis and Maya exchanged looks of both concern and excitement. For decades, humanity had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Could this be the answer? "Implement first contact protocol," Davis ordered. "Activate all welcome beacons and prepare translation matrices." In orbit above Vesper 9, Commander Ketval of the Sarkonian hegemony observed the human colony through quantum imaging systems. His chitinous exoskeleton clicked as he shifted in his command throne. "Most peculiar," he remarked to his second-in-command, Reznar. "These humans build with both efficiency and aesthetics in mind." "A weakness, Commander," replied Reznar. "Resources wasted on appearance could be better allocated to defense or production." Ketval wasn't so certain. The Sarkonian hegemony had encountered 14 other intelligent species in their 1,000-year expansion. 12 had been subjugated, their worlds stripped of resources to fuel the hegemony's growth. 2 had been deemed too primitive to bother with. But humans were different. "What is their technological assessment?" Ketval asked. His science officer stepped forward, mandibles twitching in what passed for nervousness in their species. "They possess crude, faster-than-light capabilities, Commander. Their colony ships are slow by our standards, but their rate of adaptation is concerning." "Explain." "Each human settlement implements different technologies based on local conditions. They improvise rather than follow established patterns. Their expansion rate is 17 times faster than our historical average." Improvisation was anathema to Sarkonian philosophy. For a millennium, they had risen to dominance through rigid hierarchies, meticulous planning, and the elimination of deviation. Their technology, their society, even their biology had been engineered toward perfect predictability. "Show me their defenses," Ketval ordered. The display shifted, revealing basic shield generators, a handful of orbital platforms clearly designed for meteorite defense rather than warfare, and a modest security force. "Minimal," observed Reznar. "They are vulnerable." Ketval studied the colony with growing unease. Yet they expand without fear. Why would they venture so far with such limited protection? "Perhaps they do not understand the dangers of the void," suggested his weapons officer. "Or perhaps," countered the science officer, "they don't perceive themselves as threatened. Our intelligence suggests humans prioritize diplomatic relations." The longer Ketval observed, the more disturbed he became. There was something unsettling about the chaotic energy of human expansion. While the Sarkonians methodically expanded at a rate of 1 system per 20 cycles, humanity had claimed 37 worlds in just 60 Earth years. "They are unpredictable," he finally said, "and they multiply too rapidly." "The High Command has expressed concern," Reznar confirmed. "At their current rate, they will reach Sarkonian space within 40 Earth years." Ketval made his decision. The hegemony has endured for a millennium by eliminating threats before they materialize. Prepare the molecular cascade weapons. Commander, ventured his science officer cautiously. Our studies of human history suggest they respond aggressively to perceived acts of aggression, perhaps diplomatic. The decision is made. Ketval interrupted. Deploy the cascades. Let this colony serve as a message about the consequences of unchecked expansion. On Vesper 9's surface, Maya Chen was rushing toward the central plaza to gather Lily when she felt it. A deep, bone-penetrating vibration. The plaza tiles began to crack. Children screamed as the ground beneath them seemed to liquefy, then reform in impossible patterns. The very air shimmered with wrongness as molecular fields destabilized. Lily, Maya screamed, running toward her daughter as the administrative tower began to disintegrate around her. In a moment of clarity amid the chaos, Maya activated the colony's emergency beacon, standard procedure for any catastrophic event. The signal burst outward at faster-than-light speeds toward Earth, carrying data about the attack and the alien ships responsible. Then Vesper 9, along with its 15,000 inhabitants, ceased to exist in any recognizable form. Where a thriving colony had stood moments before, there remained only a swirling mass of partially deconstructed matter, the molecular bonds of everything, buildings, plants, people, systematically unraveled by the Sarkonian weapons. Ketval observed the destruction impassively. Send word to High Command. The human colony has been neutralized as ordered. Commander, his communications officer interrupted. We detected a transmission burst just before the colony's destruction. It appeared to be directed toward Earth. For the first time in his distinguished career, Commander Ketval felt something akin to doubt. Content of the transmission. Unknown, but it contained a significant data package. Ketval's plates shifted in what his species recognized as the first sign of apprehension. Set course for Sarkonian space, maximum velocity. As the Sarkonian fleet departed, none of them noticed the small research vessel hidden in the shadow of Vesper 9's outer moon. Dr. Ilijan Como, xenanthropologist, had been conducting an unauthorized observation of his own colony, studying how human culture evolved in isolation. He had witnessed everything, and his ship's quantum entanglement communicator was already transmitting the complete sensor record back to Earth, including crystal-clear images of the Sarkonian vessels. This is Dr. Ilijan Como, he whispered into his recorder, tears streaming down his face. They're gone. Everyone's gone. 15,000 people just gone. His voice hardened. I have visual confirmation of the aggressors. I'm transmitting everything. God help us all. And God help them when humanity responds. The quantum entanglement message reached Earth instantaneously, bypassing the days that standard communications would require. Within minutes, emergency sessions of the United Earth Government were convened. For the first time in humanity's fractious history, the species spoke with one voice. Vengeance. The gathering storm. Admiral Sofia Vargas stood in Earth's orbital command center, watching the greatest military mobilization in human history unfold before her. The vast window displayed thousands of vessels converging from every corner of human space, a fleet unlike any ever assembled. Status report, she demanded, her voice steady despite 72 hours without sleep. 300,000 vessels committed, Admiral, replied her executive officer, Commander Julian Wu. 85% of conversions complete, with the remainder ready within 30 hours. Sophia nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the lights of countless ships stretching into the distance. 2 weeks ago, she had been overseeing peaceful exploration missions. Now she commanded the vengeance of humanity. Composition breakdown. 28% military vessels, Admiral. The rest are converted civilian ships, freighters, research vessels, mining platforms, luxury liners, even private yachts. Every ship with an FTL drive that could be retrofitted has been requisitioned. Sophia walked closer to the window, studying the transformation occurring before her. Civilian vessels never designed for combat were being fitted with hastily manufactured weapon systems. Mining lasers were being converted into weapons, cargo holds filled with drone swarms, and research instruments repurposed as electronic warfare platforms. It's not elegant, Wu observed, but what we lack in military design, we make up for in numbers and creativity. The Sarkonians won't expect this, Sophia replied. Their attack indicated a precise, methodical species that values efficiency. They'll be expecting a conventional military response, not this. She gestured toward a former cruise liner, the Pacific Horizon, which now bristled with missile launchers where viewing decks had once been. Its hull had been reinforced with ablative armor plating, giving it a patchwork appearance that seemed almost comical until one noticed the deadly seriousness of its new purpose. Any word from the diplomatic corps? 5 separate attempts at communication have been made. The Sarkonians have not responded. Sophia hadn't expected them to. The images transmitted by Dr. Mkomo had been clear. The attack on Vesper 9 had been deliberate, unprovoked genocide. 15,000 human lives erased in an instant by a species that apparently saw humanity as nothing more than a potential future threat to be eliminated preemptively. Her comlink chimed. Admiral, the Security Council is assembled and waiting. Sophia straightened her shoulders. At 53, she was relatively young for her rank, having risen through a combination of tactical brilliance and the political skills needed to navigate Earth's formerly divided power blocks. Those skills would be tested today. The holographic conference room materialized around her. 12 faces appeared, representing the major powers and coalitions of Earth and her colonies. Admiral Vargas, began Chairwoman Okonkwo of the United African Nations, your final assessment, please. Madam Chairwoman, members of the Council, Sophia began. The fleet is nearly assembled. 300,000 vessels crewed by volunteers from every nation, colony, and station in human space. Our intelligence on the Sarkonian hegemony remains limited, but we have identified their home system and major outposts based on Dr. Nkomo's final transmission. And our chances? Asked the representative from Mars Colony, his face grim. Sophia hesitated. Honesty was required, but so was confidence. Unknown, Counselor. The Sarkonians have demonstrated technology somewhat advanced beyond our own, particularly in molecular manipulation weapons. However, our numerical advantage is unprecedented, and our approach is unconventional. You mean desperate, said the European Union representative, not unkindly. I mean adaptive, sir. Each ship in our fleet is being modified in a unique way. There is no standard template, no unified tactical doctrine. We're leveraging humanity's greatest strength, our creativity under pressure. The Chinese representative leaned forward. This is the largest united human effort in our history, Admiral. 300,000 ships, 15 million volunteer crew members, every nation contributing resources. Even during the resource wars, we never achieved such unity. It's because we finally have an external threat, Counselor, Sophia replied. 15,000 innocent lives taken without provocation. The message is clear. Coexistence is not an option in the Sarkonians' eyes. The vote has been taken. Chairwoman Okonkwo said firmly. Operation Vesper's vengeance is authorized. Admiral Vargas, you have full tactical authority. Your strategic objectives are: first, to neutralize the Sarkonian ability to threaten human worlds. Second, to establish conditions where diplomatic relations might be possible. Sophia noted the careful wording. They weren't authorizing genocide in return, at least not explicitly. They were authorizing her to ensure the Sarkonians could never threaten humanity again, while leaving the door open for eventual peace. I understand my orders, Madam Chairwoman. We depart in 30 hours. As the conference ended, Sophia found herself alone with the holographic presence of Dr. Michael Chen, husband of Maya Chen and father of Lily, who had died on Vesper 9. Will you watch them burn, Admiral? He asked quietly. Sophia studied the man. He had lost everything, yet there was no hatred in his eyes, only a profound weariness. That's not my mission, Doctor. But will you, if it comes to that? She met his gaze directly. If it's the only way to ensure humanity's survival, yes. But I don't believe it will come to that. The Sarkonians made a terrible mistake based on a fundamental misunderstanding of human nature, Michael said. We're going to correct that misunderstanding. How? His voice cracked slightly. By showing them exactly who we are. She paused. Dr. Chen, your White's research on adaptive architecture has been instrumental in our preparation. She theorized that rigid structures can be overcome by flexible, adaptable systems. Maya believed that the future belonged to those who could adapt, Michael replied, a ghost of pride breaking through his grief. She said true resilience comes from diversity, not uniformity. That's exactly what we intend to demonstrate. Later in her private quarters, Sophia reviewed the final tactical briefings. The Sarkonian hegemony controlled approximately 70 star systems arranged in a perfect sphere of influence, their expansion methodical and uniform in all directions. Their ships appeared to follow standardized designs, with clear function-based classifications. In contrast, the human fleet resembled nothing so much as organized chaos. The military vessels, sleek, purpose-built destroyers and cruisers, were outnumbered 4-to-1 by civilian conversions of every conceivable shape and size. Mining ships with reinforced hulls designed to withstand asteroid impacts were now armored behemoths. Research vessels with sensitive scanning equipment had been transformed into electronic warfare platforms. Even luxury space yachts were pressed into service as fast attack craft, their opulent interiors stripped out to make room for weapon systems. Each ship carried the names of Vesper 9 victims painted on their hulls. Sophia's flagship, the UES Retribution, bore the names of every child under 12 who had died in the attack. Over 4,000 names in microscopic text that wrapped around the vessel like a shroud. Her door chimed. Enter, she called, closing the holographic displays. Commander Wu appeared, carrying a data tablet. Final crew manifests. Admiral, every ship is fully staffed with volunteers. In fact, we had to turn people away. We received over 50 million volunteer applications. Sophia took the tablet, scanning the information. Any notable patterns? Yes, ma'am. 65% of volunteers have advanced technical expertise unrelated to military service. We have quantum physicists serving as gunners, terraforming engineers as tactical officers, and virtual reality designers as drone operators. Sophia smiled grimly. The Sarkonians attacked the wrong species, Commander. They saw our lack of standardized defenses as weakness. They're about to learn it's our greatest strength. Do you think they're expecting us? Wu asked. Without question. Dr. Nkomo's final transmission indicated they detected Vesper 9's distress signal. They know we're coming. She stood, straightening her uniform. But they have no idea what's about to hit them. On the UES Righteous Fury, formerly the luxury cruise liner Pacific Horizon, Captain Amara Okafor walked through what had once been the ship's grand ballroom. Now it housed a makeshift drone command center, with 300 civilian programmers operating swarms of mining drones retrofitted with explosive charges. Captain on deck, someone called. And the programmers, none of whom had military experience, awkwardly rose to attention. As you were, Amara said quickly. Save the formality for the parade after we win. Show me what you've accomplished. Dr. Raj Patel, formerly the lead AI researcher at Lagos University, stepped forward. We've reprogrammed the mining drones to function as a distributed intelligence network, Captain. Each individual drone is relatively simple, but together they operate as a complex adaptive system. He brought up a holographic simulation showing thousands of small drones moving in patterns reminiscent of Earth's starling murmurations. They'll respond to Sarkonian countermeasures in real time, finding new attack vectors without central command. Captain Okafor nodded approvingly. The definition of human warfare, organized chaos. As final preparations continued throughout the fleet, Admiral Vargas made her way to the observation deck of the Retribution. The vast armada stretched in all directions, a testament to humanity's response to existential threat. Her comm officer's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Admiral, we've received the final authorization codes from Earth Command. All ships report ready status." Sophia took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Send the fleet-wide address." A moment later, her image was being transmitted to every vessel in the Armada. 15 million faces looked to her for leadership. "Men and women of the United Earth Fleet," she began, her voice strong and clear. "2 weeks ago, an alien power who call themselves the Sarkonian Hegemony committed an act of genocide against innocent human colonists. They believed this would discourage our expansion. They believed this would make us fear them." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "They were wrong. In response to their attack on one colony, we have assembled the largest fleet in human history. 300,000 ships, 15 million crew. Every nation, every colony, every orbital habitat united in common purpose. We do not seek the Sarkonians' extinction. We seek justice for our fallen and security for our future." Her eyes hardened. "The Sarkonians thought they understood humanity. They saw our differences as weakness, our adaptability as inefficiency, our creativity as chaos. Today we will educate them. Today we show them the consequences of attacking the human race." Throughout the fleet, crews cheered. On the refitted mining vessel UES Vengeance, Chief Engineer Omar Hassan wiped tears from his eyes as he thought of his sister's family who had died on Vesper 9. On the research ship UES Memory of Earth, Dr. Sarah Williams clutched the medallion containing her husband's ashes, recovered from the molecularly disrupted remnants of the colony. "All ships, prepare for synchronized FTL jump," Admiral Vargas commanded. "Our destination is the Sarkonian border outpost designated Target Alpha. Upon arrival, implement Battle Plan Hydra. For Vesper 9, for humanity, and for justice, we go to war." 300,000 engines ignited simultaneously. 300,000 ships disappeared into the quantum fold of space. The largest armada in human history was on its way to render judgment. And in the vast emptiness they left behind, Earth waited, united in purpose, hope, and terrible resolve. The Reckoning. High Commander Talvek of the Sarkonian Hegemony stood motionless on the command platform of Outpost SK-7, his carapace an ashen gray from stress and lack of proper nutrition. Cycles of sleep had eluded him since the reports of human mobilization reached Sarkonian space. Now his worst fears were materializing before him. "Quantum disturbance detected," announced his sensor officer, mandibles clicking rapidly in alarm. Multiple signatures emerging from fold space. "Configuration," Talvek demanded, his outer plates shifting to display his authority. "The readings indicate over 300,000 vessels, High Commander. This exceeds the combined fleets of the entire hegemony by a factor of 12. "Impossible," Talvek hissed. "No species possesses such resources. Recalibrate your instruments." The sensor officer's appendages worked frantically across his console. "Calibration complete. The readings are confirmed. They appear to be primarily converted civilian vessels, High Commander. Minimal standardization detected." Talvek felt the unfamiliar sensation of doubt creeping into his mind. The Sarkonian hegemony had expanded through careful planning and systematic execution for a millennium. Their military doctrine emphasized precision, uniformity, and predictable outcomes. What was emerging from fold space defied all Sarkonian understanding of warfare. "Time to weapons range?" he asked. "Unknown, High Commander. The human vessels are not maintaining standard formation. They appear to be dispersing in all directions." On the main viewer, Talvek watched as the human fleet emerged, not in the disciplined battle formations he had expected, but in what appeared to be complete chaos. Ships of all sizes and configurations spread outward in three-dimensional patterns that seemed to change from moment to moment. "Establish communication with Hegemony High Command," Talvek ordered. "Request immediate reinforcements." His words were cut short as the station rocked violently. Warning klaxons blared throughout the command center. "We are under attack," his tactical officer reported. "Multiple impacts on outer defensive arrays. The humans have bypassed our primary defense grid." "How?" Talvek demanded. "They did not follow any recognized attack pattern, High Commander. Their approach vectors were random, unpredictable. Our tracking systems were designed to identify known strategies and counter them." Talvek realized with growing horror the fundamental error in Sarkonian thinking. For a millennium, they had faced opponents who fought like them, with logical, predictable tactics that could be analyzed and countered. The humans were fighting like no species they had ever encountered. "Launch all defensive squadrons," he ordered. "Implement Defensive Protocol Omega-6." Across space, the battle unfolded in patterns never before seen in the history of interstellar warfare. Admiral Sofia Vargas stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching the tactical display as the human fleet executed what she had privately termed organized chaos doctrine. Each group of ships operated independently, following general strategic objectives rather than specific tactical orders. "Status report," she commanded. "Sarkonian response is exactly as predicted, Admiral," reported her tactical officer. "Their defensive systems are attempting to identify patterns in our approach. Since each battle group is operating on unique parameters, their predictive algorithms are failing." Sophia nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. "And the converted mining ships. The UES Relentless and her sister ships have deployed their asteroid drilling equipment against the outpost's outer defenses. They're literally boring through the shield harmonics." On the view screen, Sophia watched as former mining vessels, massive, ungainly ships designed to break apart asteroids, employed their specialized equipment in ways their designers never imagined. Quantum tip drills, normally used to penetrate dense asteroid cores, were now creating localized disruptions in the Sarkonian defense shields, allowing smaller attack craft to slip through. Meanwhile, converted luxury liners were using their extensive entertainment systems, designed to create immersive holographic experiences for vacationing passengers, to project false sensor readings, confusing Sarkonian targeting systems. "Message from Captain Okafor on the Righteous Fury, Admiral. Her drone swarms have infiltrated the outpost's ventilation systems." Sophia allowed herself a small smile. "Begin Phase 2. Aboard the Righteous Fury, Captain Amara Okafor stood in what had once been the cruise liner's grand ballroom, now transformed into a drone command center. 300 civilian programmers, many of whom had been designing entertainment software just weeks earlier, controlled swarms of modified mining drones. "Team Alpha, redirect your swarms to their primary life support systems," she ordered. "Team Beta, target communications arrays. Team Gamma, find me their command center." The drones, each no larger than a human hand, swarmed through the Sarkonian outpost like mechanical insects, bypassing security systems designed to detect larger threats. They carried no conventional weapons. Instead, they were programmed to disrupt rather than destroy. On the outpost's command platform, High Commander Talvek watched in growing horror as system after system failed. Life support fluctuated, communication scrambled, and sensor readings became unreliable. "They're inside our systems," his executive officer reported, mandibles trembling. "But our internal scans detect no human presence." "How are they doing this?" Before Talvek could respond, the main viewer activated on its own. The face of a human female appeared, dark-skinned, silver-haired, with eyes that burned with cold fire. "I am Admiral Sofia Vargas of the United Earth Fleet," she stated without preamble. "You are speaking to the commander of 300,000 vessels currently surrounding your outpost. 2 weeks ago, your forces destroyed the human colony of Vesper 9, killing 15,000 innocent civilians, including 4,000 children." Talvek's outer plates flattened against his body, a Sarkonian expression of shock. "How did you mobilize such a fleet in only 2 weeks?" Admiral Vargas' expression remained impassive. "That is the question you should have asked before you attacked us, High Commander." You believed our lack of standardized defenses indicated weakness. You believed our diverse approaches to technology and tactics were inefficient. You were wrong. She leaned forward slightly. Every ship in this fleet is unique. Every battle group operates independently. There is no pattern for your systems to recognize, no standard tactic for your defenses to counter. This is humanity, High Commander, adaptable, creative, and now, united in purpose. Talvek's mind raced. Nothing in 1,000 years of Sarkonian military doctrine had prepared him for this. "What are your demands?" he finally asked. "My primary directive is to ensure the Sarkonian hegemony can never again threaten human worlds," Admiral Vargas replied. "I have the authorization and the means to destroy this outpost and continue to your homeworld. However, I am also authorized to establish conditions for coexistence." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "I will demonstrate our capabilities now." The communication ended abruptly. Moments later, a series of precision strikes disabled the outpost's primary weapons arrays without causing catastrophic damage to the structure itself. "All offensive capabilities neutralized," reported the tactical officer, his voice hollow with defeat. "They could have destroyed us at any time." Talvek understood the message. The humans were showing restraint not from weakness, but from choice. The Admiral's face reappeared on screen. "I will now transmit our terms. They are non-negotiable." What followed was a detailed peace proposal that included the immediate cessation of hostilities, the establishment of a demilitarized zone between human and Sarkonian space, reparations for Vesper 9, and the exchange of technological and cultural information under strict oversight. "You have 1 hour to transmit these terms to your High Command and begin implementation," Admiral Vargas concluded. "If you refuse, or if any Sarkonian vessel makes any aggressive move toward this fleet or any human world, we will respond with the full measure of our capabilities." After the transmission ended, Talvek turned to his executive officer. "Send the terms to High Command with my strongest recommendation for immediate acceptance." "High Commander." The executive officer's mandibles clicked in confusion. "We believed we understood these humans," Talvek said quietly. "We believed their chaotic, diverse approaches to technology and society were weaknesses to be exploited. We were wrong. Their greatest strength lies in what we perceived as flaws." He gestured toward the view screen, where the vast human fleet hung in space, a chaotic, mismatched armada of converted civilian vessels and purpose-built warships, united in purpose if not in design. "The hegemony has survived for a millennium by recognizing superior forces," he continued. "We adapt, we learn, we survive. Today, we have much to learn from these humans." 3 days later, Admiral Sofia Vargas stood before the United Earth Government Security Council, delivering her report on Operation Vesper's Vengeance. "The Sarkonian High Command has accepted all our terms without modification," she informed them. "Their fleet has withdrawn to their core systems, and the first reparation payments for Vesper 9 have been transferred. We have established monitoring stations throughout the border region, and Sarkonian diplomatic representatives are en route to Earth for formal treaty negotiations." Chairwoman Okonkwo leaned forward. "You achieved all objectives without significant casualties on either side, Admiral. The Council commends your restraint." "It wasn't just restraint, Madam Chairwoman," Sophia replied. "It was strategy. The Sarkonians respect strength, but they also respect efficiency. By demonstrating that we could have destroyed them but chose not to, we established both our military superiority and our rational self-interest. They understand that peace is more efficient than war." "And do you believe this peace will last?" asked the European Union representative. Sophia considered the question carefully. "I believe the Sarkonians have learned something fundamental about humanity that they didn't understand before. They saw our diversity as weakness, our adaptability as inefficiency, our creativity as chaos. Now they understand these are sources of strength." She paused. "More importantly, we've learned something about ourselves. In response to an existential threat, Humanity united in a way many thought impossible. 300,000 ships, 15 million crew members, every nation and colony contributing without hesitation. That unity need not end with the conclusion of hostilities. After the council session, Sophia found herself alone with Dr. Michael Chen once more. "Thank you," he said simply. "For what?" she asked. "For not becoming what they thought we were. For finding a way to justice without genocide." He smiled sadly. Maya would have approved. "Your wife's research helped shape our strategy," Sophia told him. "Her theories about adaptive architecture translated perfectly to warfare. The best response to rigid structures isn't more rigidity, it's adaptability." Michael nodded. "What happens now?" "We rebuild Vesper 9, Sophia replied, "with Sarkonian reparation payments and human determination. And we continue to expand into the stars, but with a new understanding of both our strengths and our responsibilities. And the Sarkonians, they'll be watching us carefully, just as we'll be watching them. But I think they've learned an important lesson about underestimating humanity." She smiled slightly. "And about the consequences of annihilating the human colony." In the years that followed, humanity continued its expansion into the galaxy, but with a new sense of purpose and unity. The Sarkonian hegemony, true to their calculating nature, honored the peace treaty to the letter, eventually becoming cautious trading partners with their human neighbors. And on the reconstructed colony of New Vesper, a memorial stood in the central plaza, 15,000 names inscribed in a spiral pattern that, when viewed from orbit, formed the image of Earth. Beneath the names was inscribed a simple message that had become something of a galactic proverb. Humanity's greatest strength lies not in uniformity, but in diversity, not in rigidity, but in adaptability, not in conquest, but in connection. Remember Vesper 9.